Is the Federal Bureau of Investigation going to lose its fight with Donald Trump? Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is another Declaration of Truth from your host, Terry A. Hurlbut. And you know what? Several influencers whose opinions I respect really think the FBI is beginning to lose. And I agree. Consider, yesterday the FBI admitted that they, or at least part of the Trump raid team, took documents subject to attorney-client privilege. Also yesterday, a ranking FBI official facing scrutiny over his role in managing news and squelching investigations resigned. Rather abruptly, I think. Do I detect dissension in the ranks? Well, let's dive in and I'll let you decide. Before we dive in, I do want to shout out to the prime sponsor of this channel, which is Conservative News and Views, link in the description. Be sure to check out the awesome CNAV Store. Scroll down near the bottom for that link. Lots of good merchandise there, including this t-shirt that I have selected for today, which depicts a hooded figure and quotes Ronald Reagan as saying, "If fascism ever comes to America, it will come in the guise of liberalism." Yes, he knew. He might not have known that the FBI would come to the pass to which it is now coming, but the rest of it, he definitely knew. And now, let's get to why many of us think the FBI is about to lose. 3 days ago, I told you that Judge Eileen Cannon on Saturday, August 27th, acted on a motion by Trump for appointment of a special master to examine documents the FBI seized from Trump's Florida home. And remember, a special master is a vice judge acting on the court's behalf in a dispute. She put the government on notice that she was likely to appoint a special master. Then she scheduled a hearing for Thursday, September 1st, on whether to make the special master appointment. As part of that notice, she ordered the government to file a response to the motion. The government did file the response yesterday. It's on the so-called document cloud, and I have left a link to it in the description. And in it, the government admitted something they probably would have preferred not to, or at least to admit it only under seal. Namely, that many of the documents the FBI took in the August 8th raid were subject to attorney-client privilege. Paragraph 5 reads in part, and I quote, "Although the government will provide the court more detail in its forthcoming supplemental finding, the government notes that before the court issued its preliminary order and in accordance with the judicially authorized search warrants provisions, the Privilege Review Team, as described in paragraphs 81 through 84 of the search warrant affidavit, identified a limited set of materials that potentially contain attorney-client privileged information, completed its review of those materials, and is in the process of following the procedures set forth in paragraph 84 of the search warrant affidavit to address potential privilege disputes, if any." Unquote. So, what is in those paragraphs? Paragraph 81 of the affidavit defines two teams involved in the raid. The case team consists of every agent involved in the investigation. The Privilege Review Team has the job of determining whether any documents fall under attorney-client privilege. And if they do, or they might, here's what paragraph 84 says needs to happen next. A Privilege Review Team attorney may do any of the following. A. Apply ex parte to the court for a determination whether or not the documents contain attorney-client privilege material. B. Defer seeking court intervention and continue to keep the documents inaccessible to law enforcement personnel assigned to the investigation. Or C. Disclose the documents to the potential privilege holder. Request the privilege holder to state whether the potential privilege holder asserts attorney-client privilege as to any documents, including requesting a particularized privilege log, and seek a ruling from the court regarding any attorney-client privilege claims as to which the privilege review team and the privilege holder cannot reach agreement. All right, stop right there. I already see you scratching your heads and asking, ex what? You don't mean ex-wife, do you? No. Ex parte refers to any court action involving one party only, whether or not that party is involved in a dispute with another. In this case, under option A above, an attorney might ask a court, without reference to Trump or anyone else, to determine whether the documents contain material subject to attorney-client privilege, and if so, which ones. The problem for the FBI is that they carelessly seized many things, including Trump's diplomatic passport, that they had no authority to seize. We don't know what option among A, B, and C the privilege review team chose. We do know that the Justice Department must file under seal a detailed list of what they took and from where. By the time you hear this, they should already have been filed. Now, this last part of the filing makes very little sense. This is how paragraph 5 of the response ends. Additionally, the Department of Justice and the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, ODNI, are currently facilitating a classification review of materials recovered pursuant to the search. As the Director of National Intelligence advised Congress, ODNI is also leading an intelligence community assessment of the potential risk to national security that would result from the disclosure of these materials. That sounds all very well, except for one thing. Trump had his standing executive order that he could declassify anything. Furthermore, all the materials involve a crossfire hurricane investigation into alleged collusion between then-candidate Trump and the Russians. By now, only the most dedicated anti-Trump partisan believes that Donald Trump was a Russian or other foreign asset. So, to whom does the disclosure of these materials pose a risk? Most likely to the members of the intelligence community who ginned up that false tale. We're going to talk about those members in a moment. But first, I want to shout out to a sponsor who can really help you through the economic storms to come. And that sponsor is oursilverlines.com. Do you feel like you're working harder for your money just to get by? You're not alone. The fluctuating economy, employment issues, unexpected life changes have left many families struggling over the past few years. Collecting gold and silver can help shield you against many of these challenges. But if you're like me many years ago, you don't know where or how to start. Our Silver Lines helps by connecting you with thousands of members who are learning the secrets to creating and protecting true wealth by collecting precious metals. Now, maybe you just want to collect rare and unique coins. Or you might want to think about and take advantage of the business opportunities this company provides. Either way, our Silver Lines can help you learn to live an exceptional life. Visit oursilverlines.com to learn how you can build a legacy for your future. Now, let's talk about these members of the intelligence community who are really at risk. And I mean risk of losing their jobs, maybe of imprisonment. One of these members is Tim Tebow, former Washington Field Office Assistant Special Agent in charge. Days before the FBI got its warrant to search Trump's home, Mr. Tebow drew a high-level assignment at FBI headquarters. Tim Tebow has compromised himself heavily in what seems to be a personal mission to get Donald Trump. Senator Chuck Grassley of Iowa mentions his name in connection with the suppression of information about Hunter Biden's laptop. Now, I know what you're thinking. that the laptop contains nothing more than off-color pictures of Hunter Biden and or certain fetching young women. If that's all it was, well, I get that many of you would laugh that off. Now, not all of you, but many. But here's the thing. That laptop also contains stuff nobody can laugh off. And I'm not even talking about off-color stuff that's a lot yuckier than a typical bedroom farce. I'm talking about evidence that Hunter Biden was laundering money for himself and for his father, the president. Now, even if you think some of the American people are prudes, convincing evidence of the acceptance of bribes from foreign powers should convince any voter to vote against the person taking them. Witnesses told Senator Grassley that Tim Tebow gave the order not to investigate that evidence. More than that, Mr. Tebow's name turns up in connection with FBI supervisors pressuring agents to designate many of their cases as far more serious, even a risk to the government itself, than the evidence really warranted. The FBI slaps a convenient label on cases like that, and they are referring to a narrative that the American political left has pushed very often in recent years. Simply put, the left accuses the right of wanting a dictatorial government, and they also suggest that their opponents are willing to make that happen the way it often does in Latin America. I think you catch my drift. If you want more information, click through to the article, or look up the U.S. Constitution, Article 4, Section 4, the very last two words. Thing is, by any reasonable standard, things like that have not come from the right. So Tim Tebow, on his own or under orders, sought to relabel certain cases as showing a desire to do the nasty, as I have just explained. Witnesses said Tebow and Jill Sanborn, an assistant director level official for national security, were trying to pad the number of such cases to fit the White House narrative. And by the way, Jill Sanborn is already out of the bureau. Worst of all, Tim Tebow was involved in the push for the Trump raid. In fact, the case team consisted of agents from the Washington field office, Tebow's old office. And furthermore, much of the information to justify the Trump raid came from a left-aligned organization. Mr. Tebow didn't tell his superiors that interesting fact. Yesterday, the FBI fired Tim Tebow. Two headquarters types hustled him out of the office, though that could actually be standard procedure for high-profile departures. But you can assume that after Senator Grassley and also Representative Jim Jordan of Ohio kept mentioning his name, the FBI had to get rid of him. The government's filing turned up another name, and this only goes to show that sometimes the most obscure details can have a significance far beyond what you would suspect. The two officials who signed the Monday filing are Juan Antonio Gonzalez, United States Attorney for the Southern District of Florida, and Jay Bratt, Chief of Counterintelligence and Export Control for the Justice Department's National Security Division. Now, of course, the local United States Attorney is going to sign any filing that referable to something in his district, but Jay Bratt has given money to the Democratic National Committee, and he has been actively coordinating the document handling investigation with Alan Kohler, his counterpart in the FBI. Now, Mr. Kohler has a history of working with Stefan Halper, who spied on the Trump campaign in 2016. Halper tried to get George Papadopoulos, who worked for Trump at the time, to admit that Trump was colluding with the Russians. Now that, of course, turned up nothing, but Kohler further worked with another crossfire hurricane figure. Mainstream media will not report this. Instead, most of them, along with certain leftist celebrities, will cry, "But January 6th!" including Rob Reiner. You remember him? Archie Bunker's son-in-law, Michael Stivic, in TV's All in the Family. But we now know the FBI has been trying to relabel cases to make the political right sound dangerous. So how important can January 6th be? If it's as important as the left says, why does the FBI try to show a follow-on that doesn't exist? And now at least one man at the heart of pushing that narrative is out of the bureau. Could somebody think that ushering Tim Tebow out would stop Congress from calling into the green table? Somebody must think that about Anthony S. Fauci, by the way. Midterms are coming up in about 70 days, and maybe the only way to stop all these shenanigans is with your vote. Link in the description of the article to the government's response to the special master motion and to conservative news and views. I've also left links to the awesome CNAV Store, scroll down, and to oursilverlions.com, as I also mentioned. If you like what you've heard, you can like this video, you can click the bell icon to get notices when other videos come out, and click the super thanks icon. That's a $ in a heart shape. You can actually use it to support me monetarily if you like. Now on the end screen, I'm going to leave a subscribe link and links to my earlier videos about the FBI's activities. This is Terry A. Hurlbut delivering another declaration of truth and reminding you to let the truth set you free.